So today we're going to do a practical exercise of how do we start making our own Wordle clone in Python. And perhaps one of the very first things to do is to have a working list of 5-letter words that are useful for the game. Now this is not the same as all 5-letter words in the English language, so a quick Google search might yield something like this website over here, where it's actually claims to be wordletoday.org and then a Wordle word list. So we can see that it's actually nicely organized. It's a website, obviously, but it doesn't give us a file that we could start to use straight away with our own game. So of course we want to give credit to the starting source, but we also want to make this into a useful text file that we can use from our own Python game. So our goal is to create something like this on the Mac from this website. So that's what we're going to take a look at in this video today. So I'm going to go ahead and get this as our goal out. I'm going to move that off the screen, and I'm going to just bring over TextEdit, which is the standard simple editor on the Mac. And I might start by doing something simple like highlighting the list, and I just use the shortcut keys to highlight to the end, and I can go copy, Command C, and then over here I can paste, and sure enough I got a whole bunch of stuff that looks pretty useful. And in fairness, I have to say this already did a nice job of potentially eliminating things like these ads that are embedded throughout the document. So we don't have those straight away in our file, which is pretty nice. So already TextEdit has done us a good service, because we don't want to have to deal with all of those images or videos or whatnot and ads. So happily, just by copying and pasting over, TextEdit has taken care of some of those things for us. All right, so the next thing to maybe do is to start thinking, well, we have to do a little bit of editing. Now, we could do a bunch of this programmatically. Some of it, however, might be just as quick to do manually, just to say, okay, well, we can quickly get rid of a whole bunch of stuff. So I'm going to go ahead and get rid of each of the sections that says starts with the letter blah blah blah. And also, because we want the list to be ready to use in a file, I'm going to go ahead and make sure I put a comma after the last letter, or after the last word of each letter. So Azure was the last word in the A list. I want to make sure that I actually have a comma, and just the same way for bylaw, I'm going to add a comma there and get rid of it. Okay, so I'll pause and do that cleanup, and then be right back with you in just a moment. All right, so I've gotten down to the T's, and I'm making sure that I do the same kind of thing. So I'm just getting rid of the headings between each section, and putting a comma after the word for each section, like the W's, and comma after youth, space, and now we're in pretty good shape. So I'm here sitting in TextEdit, and I now have a really long list of words that are comma separated, and this is a pretty good start. So the next thing to consider is, how do I go ahead and make this into a usable file? And just to make sure that we don't have any special characters, probably our goal should be a regular txt file. If you notice, that's what I've got over here, is manywords.txt. So that's probably a good target to try to make when we're saving a file. So when we're in TextEdit, we can choose save, right? So we have to make sure we're on the TextEdit file to hit save, not on the Chrome browser when we hit save. So TextEdit is chosen, and go up to file and choose save, and it brings up obviously the normal thing that we want. So maybe I'll start saying Wordle word list, and we would want to save this somewhere appropriate. But the other thing to notice on TextEdit is that we have a whole bunch of choices here for the file format, and what we are shooting for is a TXT file, so which is a simple text file. There are lots of alternatives here. However, most of them are going to give us some kind of additional characters written into our file that sadly then we would just need to ignore or deal with somehow when we're using our Python code. So this isn't really what we want. So it's maybe a little surprising, because on the PC, if we were using something like Notepad, we would be able to choose TXT straight away. There's one additional step, however, on TextEdit on the Mac, and that is because I pasted in here, it's automatically got some potential hidden characters that we may not want, and we have to then go up to Format and choose Make Plain Text. So that's an extra step on the Mac that we may not have had on the PC if we were using something like Notepad. So I'm going to go ahead and choose Make Plain Text, convert this document to plain text, replace all lose all text styles, images, attachments. Yes, we want that. We don't want any of those bonus things in there, so I'm going to go ahead and say OK. And now this is already starting to look almost exactly like what I want. So I think we're in pretty good shape. And the last piece actually is to save the file. So now that we've told TextEdit to make this a plain text file, so now it says make rich text if we want to switch back, but now that we've told it to make it a text file, it's ready for us to then hit save. And now notice that our option here is UTF-8, which is standard. Online nowadays, that's the proper Unicode that we want for any text file, really. And Python, I think, defaults to expecting files to be in UTF-8 as well. So I can say Wordle list, and if I don't say anything else, it's going to add the .txt onto the end. So I'll leave that, and ta-da, there we have it. So now it should be a TXT file. Okay, and if you wanted to make sure, you can always, when you do the save, you can add a .txt in there, which is what I did when I made my first one. Okay, so now we have a text file that's ready to use, and we can start thinking about bringing it into Colab and using it inside our Python code.